Good morning everyone. In today's video we'll go through question 4 of AQA English Language Paper 1. We'll take it step by step and then we'll look at a model answer. The extract is from A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle, the first in the Sherlock Holmes series, and a copy of the exam paper along with these slides can be found in the link below. To complete the tasks in this video you'll need something to write with and something to write on. A printed copy of the exam paper is always useful, but I'll put the extract and the questions on the screen. Now here's the timings and the question order that I recommend for paper 1. It's structured this way so that you get the biggest mark questions out of the way first, and if you stick to these timings, it'll ensure that you give each question adequate time and maximise your potential in the exam hall. Now you may have heard me refer to the English language exams as a tick box exercise, as in if you tick all of the boxes on the mark scheme, you'll be sure to get yourself a decent grade. But what can you remember about the 4 things on the mark scheme for question 4? Pause the video and have a go at writing them down, see if you can remember. And bonus points if you can tell me the difference between level 3 on the mark scheme and level 4. Now give yourself a mark out of 4 if you got these. The 4 things that you absolutely have to include in a question 4 are: making sure your answer is clearly centered on the question statement, using a range of relevant quotations, clearly identifying and exploring the writer's use of language and structural techniques and their effects, and clearly exploring the multiple effects on the reader. And if your answer includes those 4 things, and in a decent amount of detail, you're onto a winner. Now keep in mind that you are the reader in this situation, so when the question says, to what extent do you agree, this is your chance to explore the effect on the reader. Now question 4 always has a statement, and today's statement says, Doyle, who's the author, has successfully presented Holmes as a misunderstood genius. To what extent do you agree? So with that in mind, pause the video, take 5 minutes, and read through the extract thoroughly. So here's the question in full. It's worth 20 marks. That's 25% of the exam paper. And in those bullet points underneath the question, it basically tells you what's on the mark scheme. Respond to the statement, discuss language and structural methods and their effects, and use quotations. Now I advise that you take 6 minutes to plan your response on this question, and in that time, you should find quotations that relate to the question and annotate them. So label them with the names of the techniques, and any connotations, and any inferences that you can make about the quotes. How do they show Sherlock Holmes is a misunderstood genius? Now if you don't have a copy of the exam paper so you can't highlight, it may be useful to set it out like this. Each box on the right hand side represents 1 paragraph, and each paragraph should be about a different topic. For example, you could write 1 paragraph about how Holmes is described, a 2nd paragraph about the things that he says and how he says them, and a 3rd paragraph about his actions. Or you might have had another idea for a paragraph, and that's fine as well. And what I would do is underneath each heading, I would list the different quotations and the different things that I would say about those quotations, and this would act as my plan for the question 4. Now remember, a question 4, as it's worth 25% of the paper, should be about 2 sides in length or thereabouts, so we need to make sure we have plenty of quotations to use and plenty of things to say about each quotation. Here's the extract again. Set yourself a timer for 6 minutes and plan your answer. Okay, now that you've got your plan, it's time to write it up. For question 4, we use the PEADL structure, P-E-E-A-D-L. And if you follow this structure for each of your paragraphs, it'll ensure that you hit the 4 things in the success criteria box on the right. Now, for question 4, you get 21 minutes of writing time, and you want to aim for 2 to 3 paragraphs in that time. But keep in mind, it's always better to have 2 detailed paragraphs that hit all the points on the mark scheme, as opposed to 3 poorly written paragraphs that are a bit lacking. It all depends on your confidence level and your writing speed. Now there are sentence starters here that will help you, But if you're going to use them, remember they're just there as a guide. Feel free to change bits, tweak bits, reword bits. They're just a guide. Even better if you don't use the sentence starters at all. It's much better to develop your own style of writing, but just make sure that all of your paragraphs tick all of the boxes on the question 4 success criteria. This will boost your chances of getting the marks that you want on the exam. So set yourself a timer for 21 minutes, pause the video, and have a go at answering question 4. Now here's my answer. Not the whole answer, just one paragraph. And once you've read it, what I would like you to do is to colour code it. Highlight the answer with where it hits the mark scheme. For example, highlight the quotations in one colour. Then in a different colour, highlight where it explores the effect on the reader, and so on. And this is a really visual way of working out where the answer is lacking. If you can't see much of a certain colour, then that would be the EBI. This will then tell you how you can improve the answer. Pause the video, read through the paragraph, and can you work out how it could be improved? Now it's time for a thorough self-assessment of your own response. First off, read back through your answer and complete the same colour code task. This might highlight the areas of your response that need a little bit more detail. And then, using a copy of the mark scheme, give yourself a realistic, honest mark out of 20. Then based on all of this, work out what it is that you're doing well, and also what you need to do to improve your mark. And finally, rewrite one of your paragraphs, improving it as you go. It's this task that I think is the most useful. And once you've self-reflected, you can work out what's holding you back, and you can ensure that your future responses achieve better marks. And that's the key to improvement. So pause the video and complete the self-assessment tasks. And that's all for today's video. It takes a few hours to put each video together and only a moment to give it a like. So if you found it useful, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and happy revising.